All right, guys. So, interesting stuff happening in Iran. There's been some contradictory reporting on this, but basically here, I'll give you the gist, and then we'll go through this BBC News article. But there's been a bunch of protests because, there was a story that went mega viral of this woman who, wasn't wearing her headscarf or cut her hair or something like that, and that led to the Islamic police, the morality police, to arrest her, and she ended up dying. She ended up dead. There was a massive backlash over this, because to think about, the violation that they're accusing her of, right? It's like, this is nothing. It's just basic freedom. She should be able to cut her hair however the fuck she wants. She shouldn't have to wear a fucking headscarf, all that shit. She's a person. She shouldn't live under this draconian, primitive, hardcore Islamic fundamentalist law. It's ridiculous. And people were fed up. They're fed up. When their economy is not doing well, a lot of that's because of Western sanctions, but the economy's not doing well. So materially, they're not doing well. And then they also have incredibly draconian social laws. There's going to be a backlash. And so this led to massive protests. And then we got word that since these protests have been so sustained over such a long period of time, they're actually going to disband the morality police, the Islamic morality police. But then we heard, actually, that's not necessarily true. We're not sure if that's what's going to happen. So, let's go through this article in BBC, and then we'll talk about it. Uncertainty over Iran's morality police after officials disbanded remarks. There's uncertainty over the status of Iran's morality police, which enforces its dress code, after a senior official suggested that it had been disbanded. When asked about the guidance patrol at a conference, Attorney General Mohammad Jafar Montazeri said they, quote, have been shut down from where they were set up. However, the government did not confirm the move, and local and media reported that his remarks had been misinterpreted. The death of a woman detained by the force had sparked nationwide protests. Mahsa Amini, 22, collapsed and fell into a coma shortly after being arrested in Tehran on the 13th of September for allegedly violating the rule requiring women to cover their hair with a hijab or headscarf. There were reports that morality police officers beat her head with a baton. The police said she suffered a heart attack. Anti-government protests labeled riots by Iranian authorities swept across Iran after Miss Amini died in hospital on 16th of September. But while her death was the catalyst for the unrest, it has also been driven by long-standing discontent over poverty, unemployment, inequality, injustice, and corruption. Iran has had various forms of morality police since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, but the latest version, known formally as the Guidance Patrol, is currently the main agency tasked with enforcing Iran's Islamic Code of Conduct. They began their patrols in 2006 to enforce the dress code, which also requires women to wear long clothes and forbids shorts, ripped jeans, and other clothes deemed immodest. Mr. Montazeri was at a religious conference when he was asked about the Guidance Patrol. Quote, the morality police had nothing to do with the judiciary and have been shut down from where they were set up, he said. However, he stressed that the judiciary would continue to monitor behavioral actions at the community level. Okay, so it seems like he's saying, well, the morality police are not really like the official law enforcement arm of the government, so they're sort of like a separate thing. And he's saying, well, they were shut down. But then he goes on to say, but we'll still monitor behavioral actions at the community level, meaning we're still going to try to enforce laws in accordance with their view of Islam. Kind of confusing, if you ask me. Kind of confusing. The Guidance Patrol is part of the National Police Force and control lies with the Interior Ministry and not with the judiciary. After the BBC and other foreign media picked up the Attorney General's statement, some Iranian state media outlets pushed back on the morality police. Some Iranian state media outlets pushed back on the morality police had been disbanded. State-run Arabic-language TV channel Al-Alam said some had tried to misinterpret what the Attorney General said. Quote, the most that can be understood from Mohammad Jafar Montazeri's remarks is that the morality police patrols have not been connected to the judiciary since their inception. Conservative outlet Student Network News dismissed the false headlines and stressed that observing hijab is still law in Iran. However, the reformist Sharq newspaper said it had approached the public relations office of Tehran's police force, but that officials had dodged its question on disbanding the Guidance Patrol. And when asked about Mr. Montazeri's remarks during a visit to Serbia, Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdollahian neither confirmed nor denied they were correct. Quote, in Iran, everything is moving forward well in the framework of democracy and freedom, he said. On Saturday, Mr. Montazeri also told Iranian parliament the law that requires women to wear hijabs would be looked at. Okay. So, look, I don't know what to make of this. My guess is the comments from this guy, sort of like, the government was caught red-handed overreaching, and then, like, when being presented with that fact directly, it's sort of like a dodge to be like, I mean, look, the morality police aren't even like the actual police, bro. It's like a separate agency. It's not even like the government, so they're already kind of disbanded when you think about it, bro. It almost seems like sort of a bullshitty response to tap dance around the reality of it. So it seems kind of bullshit. And of course, the articles got massive traction that said, oh, they disbanded their morality police. And then a bunch more questions came, and they're still sort of bullshitting about it. They're not being very direct. So my guess is they don't even know what's going on, right? I mean, obviously, at this late date, obviously, everything they're calling for is unenforceable. When you have a population that's like, we're not going to buy your bullshit anymore. You're not going to force women to cover their head or, wear immodest things, or you're not going to enforce a dress code on us. And there's like millions of people in the streets saying, fuck off. You're not going to police us on this. It's unenforceable. You don't have like the manpower. You don't have the ability to like actually crack down. And so in a sense, you could argue maybe it's even like a face-saving thing on their part. Like, I mean, bro, they're not even really doing the thing anymore anyway. It's like they've been forced into this new reality, and now they're sort of tacitly accepting the new reality with these passive comments of like, are the morality police even really still a thing? I don't even know, bro. So I don't know. Look, it would serve them well to actually come out and say the thing that everybody thought they originally said here. If they came out and said, yeah, there is no more morality police, we're done with that, it's over, then that would make it much more likely that the government stays viable and doesn't get overthrown, right? Like, it's possible, even if they announce that the protests continue because there are other underlying issues that are dire that people are trying to have addressed, right? So that's possible. But it's also possible, if they were to come out and make a big show of it and say, yeah, there is no more morality police, we're loosening social controls and extreme draconian primitive fundamentalist law, it's possible that quells the protests. And even if the protests get reduced 50%, 60%, 70%, that like, okay, then the regime is going to stand, right? So I don't know. I don't think they know what they're doing. I don't think they know whether they're coming or going. I think they're facing a situation where they don't know how to police the population because it's sort of out of their control at the moment. And so they're just sort of scrambling and throwing shit at the wall and making all sorts of weird arguments to try to calm the situation down. So look, I hope it's true. I hope they actually disband it. I'm not so sure it is going to be disbanded, or if they do disband it, they might just re-implement the same laws in the future through a different body, right? But look, solidarity to the protesters. I'll say it again. I don't want the U.S. to get involved in any way, shape, or form. I don't believe in us doing a regime change. We have a terrible history with Iran and meddling in their internal affairs anyway. But in terms of an outsider's perspective, I stand with the protesters and, solidarity no matter what they decide to do. If they can officially get this thing disbanded and they continue protesting, they have my support. If they can get this thing disbanded and they stop, they still have my support. I would love to see internal reformation from the bottom up in Iran, where they can get more social freedoms and they can get more economic security. And that's all I can say at this point. So I don't think it's really being disbanded, but at least as of right now, it appears like the laws are unenforceable at the moment. And let's just hope it stays like that, right? We'll take it. If on paper it still says there are morality police, but they can't really do anything because they've lost all their power, well, that's better than having the morality police and have them actually enforcing their shitty laws, right? But ideally, they do get rolled back at the very least, and ideally beyond that, you hope that they can get a more progressive government in there that represents their interests more. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.